Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Paterson, and today I'm going to be showing you how I design a vintage logo type for your company, brand, or business, or if you're a designer, you just want to know my process. You don't really need much to start this. You don't need an iPad. You don't need any sort of special things to start this off. You will need software in the end, but right now you're okay. The first thing we need though is a mood board or some kind of inspiration for the text that we're going to be using and for the kind of words that we're going to be using. Let's say this company, which is fake and made up, called Changes Supply Co, is asking me to design a vintage retro kind of logo type. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get this book here, which is called Scripts, and I use this book quite often when it comes down to like getting my mood boards or working out what kind of scripts. Now you can do this online if you don't have a book, but it's all good. And you can see here I've got bits of paper stuck in here from last projects. And basically this book has got a bunch of like awesome vintage scripts that you can use as inspiration. And we're just going to go through these and I'm going to just give you my thoughts on some of these different little inspirational things here. So there's a couple of things that I like to work out beforehand, which is, am I going to be using this as like a script, or am I going to be using a sans serif or a serif? So I need to work out my typeface because I know they want a logo type, so we're gonna have to work this out. So I like this, which is called Schreibschrift or something like that, and it's a weird font that's going on here, but I really like it. The things that I like the most about it are the hard edges up here, so it's kind of like a Spencerian, but I like it how it flows and it all looks really nice together, and the capitals look amazing. So does the C. So I'm gonna just take this here and bring it over there just so I can have a little paper copy right there of something going on. And then I'm going to just have a look around, have a look at a few more. I like this as well. This is kind of more retro, but I like the way that it forms and the fact that it's not got too much of like thin and thick. It's just got enough so you know that it's a script. So I'm going to steal this piece of paper as well and shove it there. Obviously, this process takes a long time when I'm actually doing it for a real client because there's a lot more to think about. But just to show you guys, I wanted to give you a little peek inside the way that I do it. And I also like this kind of style, but it's very generic, so I'm not going to go with that, I don't think. And I like this one too. This one looks kind of rough, and I like this. I don't know why, it just looks really rough. And I love the sort of frame on the outside with all the cool ornaments there. I'm just going to have a little last flick through to see if anything really pushes to mind. I'm looking for things that are simple, that can be seen, very small, things that can be made into an icon maybe. Some very interesting and unique typeface is what I'm looking for. But I think we've found it. I think we've got either this, this, and this. So you need about 3, just so you know. And basically the thing that I like most about these is that the script. So script is very easy to do, for me anyway, but you can go serif, which is a lot more of a vintage look. It's kind of a 1920s look. You can even go sans serif as well, but it depends what you want to do. So the next stage now is to go ahead and make some little thumbnail sketches. And normally I would create about 50 of these, but because it's a video, I'm not going to make 50, but you can follow along. Okay, so we're going to be calling this Changes Supply Code, but the main thing that we need to work out is Changer. So I'm going to create a couple of little thumbnails here, and they're very small, so you may not be able to see them too much, but I'm just going to literally get the letter forms out like this, and it looks really rough. Now, the point of which people get intimidated is this, because they really don't know the process behind it. Now, the process that I use is kind of different to everyone else's because there's no pressure with this. I always charge by project, not by hours. So that means that if I'm charging a project, I can spend as much time on it as I want to make sure that the logo looks well without having to worry about the client being charged so much more. And this is a fake project as well, but I thought I'd show you the process. Okay, so this is how it kind of looks in a script form. I know this isn't actually a script, it's just a skeleton, which is just a line that's giving us sort of the foundation of the letters. Now, this looks pretty cool. Now, there was a cool thing inside of the script book that I liked, which is just, let's try and find it for a second here. I may not have had it on me. Let's have a look. Okay, so the capital C here, it kind of like goes up and then round and then down again. So I want to try and do it like that. So let's try and like come up with our own, and that's the skeleton right there. And with this, we're just going to quickly add some weight into here. And the way you add weight is to think about how the pen moves. So normally when it's coming down, the lines are thick. So if I was just to illustrate this, the lines are going to be thicker when they're down, and when they come back up with the pen like this, they're going to be thin. So thin, thick, and that's the way you work it out. And I know how to do calligraphy as well, so I have a good basis of how these letter forms are going to be. You can see how crappy this looks, and that's okay, because we're just trying to get an idea out there, like a really quick idea. And in the end, we'll be doing this for a while if you're doing it on a real project, but in the end of this video, we should have a vectorized, hand-lettered logo type for you to use as vintage. Okay, there you go. That's a very, very, very rough kind of brush look right there. And I'm going to stick it up to the camera so you can see it. It's a very rough brush look right there. It's not exactly anything to be proud of just yet. So the next thing that we need to do is take another idea and put it out here. So another idea that we could do just to go really fun, and I'm just going to do it on the fly because I don't know what I want to do just yet. We could do it straight on like so. I'm not using any rulers, there's no point. And we can go very edgy. Right? Because no one's really, I haven't seen much of this, like edgy monoline, because I like monoline, but by edgy I mean it's not very smooth and I don't want it to be. So normally I would go ahead and create 50 of these types of things within an hour, just like you saw me doing there. I spent a bit longer doing these actually, but I would normally create tons and tons of these, and then I'll bring it into a big piece of paper like I'm going to show you now, and we're going to actually draft this out. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and drawn our little ideas which are here, we're going to use a big piece of paper. Now this one's massive, it's like A2, I believe it is. And the reason why I use this, it's actual, I can't remember what kind of paper it is. It's basically like this cartridge paper with a bit of tooth on it, and it allows me to draw a bit more artistically. It's not got like the same smoothness, and I like that. It's got the kind of a bit of a more rough edge. And the reason why I use a big piece of paper is, as you can see here, I've been working on logo designs over the past few weeks, and this is just one piece of paper that I haven't been at for a while because I'm still coming up with concepts for this client. But this is just very generic work on here, and I wanted to show you how I do it. So if I just have a big piece of paper, it helps me understand or get an overall history of what I've done, and I like that. I like to be able to show the client the history of the work afterwards. So this is kind of like the big drafting piece of paper that I'll sit with for about a week and create different work, or sit with the day and create different logo types. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get my ruler, and I'm going to, just under the low visit one there, I'm going to create some guides. And you're probably wondering why I'm not doing this on the iPad. It seems how I'm normally used to doing it on the iPad. Well, because most of you guys probably don't have an iPad. So doing it on paper is just a bit more difficult because you've got more things to think about. Then I'm going to half that and then add another half to the top here as well. And I'm doing this quite roughly, but I'll spend more time in an actual video. So now you've got your guides right here. They're quite faint, but we need them to map out where we're going. I'm going to go ahead and literally just create some other lines here which are going to give me the angle of which we're actually drawing this in. So the way that I do this is literally, I try and hold the thing down perfect like so, and then I move it across. And I match the lines up. And I'm using the thin ruler here because I need more lines. And obviously I'm drawing these a bit quicker and a bit harder so you can see them on camera. But I want you to get an understanding of how you keep things very consistent, and it's through using guides. Don't just trust your brain, because your brain's going to make you fail a lot of the time. So use these guides, get your arms down, make them as like consistent as possible, so when you're creating a letter form, you know which angle to go at. And if you're wondering what kind of angle you want to be at the angle which fits you and what you want to do. So just keep going at these angles here, like so. And that'll do. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly sketch out this in a better way. So the way that I'm going to do this, by going through the lines, I'm going to make sure that I keep all my letter forms within the lines. So I'm going to roughly sketch out a C. And when I mean roughly, I mean pretty rough. I'm just letting my hand flow across the page, like so. And I'm creating little divots here so you can see what's going on. changes. And the C is going to be the most circular one. So we've got that there. Now we've got the guide for the C, and the rest of this process is about creating guides for the work and building on top of it. It's kind of like a layering system. You want to be able to create layers and systems of creating guides so your work actually looks consistent before it even goes in on the computer. Okay, we've got a very rough outline there of what we wanted, and that's exactly where we want to be. Now the next step of this is to add weight to it. Now we don't have to get it as perfect as the one up here. The reason why it's so perfect up here is because I wanted to see what it was like before I go to Illustrator, but I have a good idea of what it's going to be, and we can also edit this on the PC, whether you're on Photoshop, Illustrator, or anything else. You can edit it pretty easily. So we're going to carry on with this and create some more weight around this, and I'm going to keep all the weight consistent as possible. The main trick is to not be scared to do it. Just go for it. It doesn't matter if it looks bad in the end. Just try your best and see what happens when it comes out, because nothing's permanent. You can always take it away. Okay, so there we've got it filled in, and it looks okay. Now I'm looking at it through the little viewfinder on my camera because it's a good place to look at it, what it looks like. There's a few discrepancies in it, so I need to move this S over there. I also need to work out this part here. So I'm annotating on here as we go. I'm not being delicate about it, I'm just getting it done. Design is all about functionality. It needs to work correctly. And I like this. I'm going to put a little mark there. The H here, this needs to come up further. So that needs to come up like so. And you can do this with a red pen or whatever and just make little notes on your work. Don't feel afraid to just make notes on your work as you go. But because I've got an iPad, I don't need to use tracing paper. I'm going to use the iPad. So what I'm going to do is really quickly use the iPad. I'm going to make these little changes, repeat this process again, and then I'm going to scan it and import it to my computer, the finished picture, for us to vectorize in Adobe Illustrator. Okay, now I'm basically at my computer and I've scanned in the work, but I've got a few updates to tell you. So we were working on something like this. This is the logo that I brought in through the iPad. It's a very rough sketch, but I didn't like it very much, and I don't know why, so I thought I'd change it to something that I prefer a bit more. So what I did is I sort of repeated the last process, and I went ahead and changed it to this, and I made it look a bit better. Now this is a sketch, and it looks okay. It's quite quick the way that I've been doing this, so I can get this video to you, but basically the whole principle is still here. You can check out some of my other work on Instagram if you're a bit more curious about it, but basically this is the main bulk of the work here. So once we've got the image that you want in, we want to make sure we draw it again with really nice thin lines that we can follow with the pen tool. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to select my image here, which is just a normal image, and I'm going to turn it down by 20%. So I'm going to go up here to the opacity, then I'm going to get my rulers out, and I'm going to just make this into a nice sort of grid here. Like we're going to repeat the process, and we're just dragging these rulers down. I'm also going to go ahead and just lock this layer here by pressing Command 2, and I'm going to make sure that everything is pretty much on a good line here. So we've got some grid systems flowing here. So I'm going to just show you very quickly me vectorizing this and hopefully getting a decent design out of it in the end. Now there's a lot of things you have to do in order to make this work really well. You have to think of consistency throughout. So what I'm doing now is I'm just plotting the basic points of what I want it to be. And throughout this process, it'll change drastically as we go. As you can see here, this looks a bit strange. We can also change this or use other letter forms as well. So I'm going to copy and paste this on top. And then I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring the top and bottom in a little bit. Bring this over here. Bring this a bit more down like so. We've got that right there. There are lots of other things that we can do to make sure that this works correctly. But as you can see, it's kind of working right there. That's a perfect O shape going on. And part of the speed that I'm doing, and that's pretty easy because and what I did with the N is I just stole the part from the H because we can edit both of these later to make them work really well. For instance, there's a few little discrepancies here, but it's all about taking your time with it and not doing what I'm doing and rushing it. We can even like manipulate it a little bit to bring them further in on themselves if we need to. And guys, there you have it. Here is the logo design in all its glory. It is here. It's called Changes, Supply Go. We can add more to it. We may not have to. Now, the way that I got this text effect here was literally by using this ink block action, which you can easily create yourself by just going to rasterize and adding a few effects and then image tracing it back in to Illustrator. But that's after you've fully vectorized it, so you can change certain things about it. Now there's a lot in here that I don't like that I would change, but as a way of showing you guys how I create my logo types, this is the way to do it in a very brief format. Normally these things take me a long time to create and to sort of nitpick over and to make the balance look correct. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please subscribe down below. Also, like and comment down below, and I'll catch you in my next video. See you soon.